Hi, Dr. Supriti, Assistant Professor of Department of Chemistry of Bethune College. I'm going to share with you some interesting information on the chemistry of rock painting and story of an in-situ rock carver. One fine morning on Sunday, when I was reading my favorite Robibashiriya page of Anandabajar Potrika, I came to know about an old pit of the Purulia district, which is a store of natural color. The small hill in Purulia is a reservoir for natural dye sources. The whole pit is nothing but color. The color on the region's smart wall houses usually come from here. The hill is popularly referred to as Malti Khadan by the locals. They used the natural binder made from the leaves and stems of the Panialata plant and mixed them with some chemical colors to create a stronger paint. The color also can be applied to stone sculpture like Ajanta Muller. Before deep dive into the topic, we must discuss a couple of definitions used in this context. There are two types of rock carving, assemble work and in-situ. In-situ rock carving is one in which the rocks are fixed in a particular place and cannot be removed for artwork, and thus the sculpture done on the site. In India, in-situ rock carving has been an ancient tradition. It started in the Mauryan period during the region of Emperor Ashoka. The cave of Barabar Hills in Bihar Gaya district are the world's oldest rock-cut caves in 3rd century BC. However, a more pristine form of these in-situ rock carving can still be seen in the caves of Ajanta, Ellora and Mahabalipuram. India's famous in-situ rock carving will be discussed later in this session. The most notable thing about cave art is that the predominant colors used are black, yellow ochre, red, and white. Prehistoric artists used natural pigments that were found nearby in the earth, such as limonite, hematite, greens from oceanic deposits, blues from crushed stones, and manganese ore, charcoal from the fire, white from the ground calcite or chalk. The binding medium for emulsifying the pigments are animal glue, egg yolk, etc., which achieves the addition between the pigments and the dry background. As all of you know, pigment is a group of compounds that are intensely colored and are used to color other materials. Synthetic organic pigments are derived from coal dust and other petrochemicals. Inorganic pigments are made by relatively simple chemical reactions or are found naturally as earth. Paleolithic artists seems to have used two main colors, which are red and black. The main difference between dye and pigment is that dye molecules are very small, whereas pigments are much larger. Therefore, dyes easily dissolve in water and in many solvents, while pigments do not dissolve in water. Dye and pigments are two types of compounds that can be impart color to the material. Pigments were produced on a larger scale by the Egyptians and Chinese. Ancient artists invented the first pigments, a combination of soil, animal fat, burnt charcoal, and chalk. As early as 40,000 years ago, creating a basic palette of 5 colors: red, yellow, brown, black, and white. Ochre is the earliest known pigments used by humans to paint our world, perhaps as long as 3 lakh years. Art colors were cleaned and washed, increasing their strength and purity, and new pigments appeared from minerals such as malachite or malachite, azurite, and cinnabar. The most famous cave painting is the Great Hall of Bulls, where bulls, horses, and deer are depicted. One of the bulls is 17 feet long, largest animal discovered so far in any cave. Archaeologists believe they have discovered the world's oldest known representational artwork, which is 3 wild pigs painted deep in a limestone cave in the Indonesian island at least 45,500 years ago. 1 minute. It's not working. Okay, fine. This is one of the walls of the Cave of Lascaux, France. It dates back to the Paleolithic period of 70,000 years ago. Based upon an analysis of paintings, colors from around the world. First, there is distinction between light and dark, that is white and black. Next, the use of red as distinctly primary color. Then, as secondary colors, comes to use of green, yellow, then blue, and finally as tertiary colors, which are brown, purple, orange, pink, and gray. Its bold, clear painting leaves us with a number of questions. What did the Paleolithic people use to paint their cave art? How did they paint the objects on the wall? How have they lasted so long? Where did they get their materials from? Did all the materials come from the local area? After extensive research, it is concluded that the people had to have used the things around them, especially the minerals and rocks. Analyzing and studying the various compounds allow us to understand something of the technology employed in cave painting. Recent archaeological work has discovered some of the tools these people used. An abalone shell is used to hold the pigment, and a quartzite stone for the grinding of the pigments like charcoal and ochre. For the paintbrush, the artist used one of the thin bones from the front leg of a wolf, which one end dipped in ochre. Comparing the minerals used in an area with those found from allows archaeologists to determine the trade routes of these early paints. A lot of research has been done in this area, and one thing that has been noted is the palette range of this period. In the Lascaux cave in France, there are red, yellow, hydrated and anhydrous hematite, manganese oxide for browns and blacks, and calcite for white. In Altamira, Spain, red hematite is dominant, while in Provence, southern France, alongside the hematite and red earth, there is a use of bauxite, that is red aluminum oxide. This implies the color and properties of the pigments were important and not the mineral type. From analysis cave painting materials, it appears that these pigments have been prepared in different ways. The finer the pigment grained, the more expensive it would be. In 1982, the US forensic archaeologist Mike Jolensky analyzed and identified the pigments used in 5,000-year-old Indian rock painting as natural minerals, ores, and salt deposits. But how the pigments were stuck to the rock surface has posed problems. The range of binders or glue available to these ancient tribes was very limited. The most obvious would be saliva or plant extracts such as sap. S. Paramashivan in 1939, B.B. Lal in 1967, and A.C. Bharadwaj in 1983 identified the pigments used at Ajanta-Ellora. An expert committee on Ajanta was established in 1971. Painters of Ajanta used lime and white clay, that is kaolin, for white. The pigments of the Ajanta painting were easily softened by water. They show the existence of a water-soluble binding medium in the paint layer. In Ajanta, gave no evidence of any use of copper compounds for green and azurite for blue. Many of these ancient heritage monuments are located from human habitations, inside forests, and pristine areas, including in secluded caves. Ajanta, Ellora, Elephanta, Bhaja, Kerala, Betse, Kaneri, Saptaparni, Udaygiri, Khandagiri are some of the most famous cave monuments of India. Heritage monuments across the world are affected by a variety of physical and biological stresses, growing insects and pests with changing climatic conditions. Cave monuments are fascinating habitats for the presence of unique biodiversity, especially insects to microbes, algae, fungi, and insects. These caves are unique biodiversity sites due to the low temperature, little to no sunlight, and high moisture conditions. Insects, along with bats, survive in drought. Insects are reported to be frequent visitors in the Ajanta caves due to the location of the monuments in the densely forest area, with high humidity and low temperature in the caves. In comparison to outside dry weather and almost negligible sunlight penetrating the caves, warmer climate and humidity increase the number of insect pests close to historical properties. Future ongoing changes in climate, variability and rainfall patterns are observed to increase the presence and degradation of monuments due to the rise in insect and pest population. Nearly 1/4 of the painting of Ajanta were lost. Insect silverfish live in rough plaster of the painted surface. Where food is available in plenty due to the organic matter present are caused most of the damage. It is imperative to know to the past workers to plan any future intervention before the advent of many formal scientific experiments on the chemical properties of pigments. The early artists of India associated with rock painting had attained a perfect and deeper understanding of it. The technique of mural paintings was copied from Ajanta and then taken to Southeast Asia, where many Buddhist countries represented India's great material culture. The unique feature noted in stone art is the technical excellence of its everlasting durability. There has been a gap in the continuity of rock art for some time. In modern era, a number of institutions and artists where dedication have come up and taken it outside the temple premises to make it more relevant and democratic to entertain the needs of the people. Reportedly, in-situ rock carving was practiced even before the birth of Christ. When people used to live in caves, the use of fire, rock materials, and in-situ carving became everyday activities of the rock shelter culture. Popularly, these types are seen in places like Ajanta, Ellora, Mahabalipuram, and Unakoti. If you glance around the globe, as I mentioned earlier, we will find remarkable sites where sculpting was done on site. These include China's giant Buddha Crazy Horse Memorial in South Dakota, Nashke Rustam in Persepolis. Closer home, we have Ajanta and Badami cave temples. The last stone sculpting in India was done in the 11th century. In-situ rock carving project is presently very crucial because in the past, countless slabs of rocks were physically removed, very rarely by expert. Most of them transported to institutions and private collections without any knowledge of the authorities. Sometimes the government did not have any kind of information regarding the matter of dolomite and dolerite rock smuggling. Let's discuss current scenario of in-situ rock carving in West Bengal. Once known as a safe haven for Maoists, the Ajodhya Hill in West Bengal Purulia district has now become a tourist hotspot, all thanks to the effort of one man, the 66-year-old talented artist Chitto De. In-situ rock carving have been revived after 900 years in Pakhi Pahar Ajodhya Hills near Purulia. Chitto De is working on the hills surrounding the Ajodhya Hills in the Matha range, Balarampur range, and Bamni Falls of the West Bengal Purulia. These carved rocks are still alive due to the art they possess, thus saving the ecology and the environment from getting further harmed. This project is highly interesting and is capable of achieving high ground in the face of the worldwide tourism industry. This would bring a great revolution in the tourism industry, not only in West Bengal, but also throughout the country. It took him nearly 2 to 3 years, and innumerable visits to various departments of government offices to get the permits. In 1996, the state government, under the Chief Minister Buddhadev Bhattacharjee, allotted him an 800-foot hill in the Matha range and granted him rupees 2 lakh for his work. Chittodeh received the government grant through the Flight to Harmony Foundation in 2008. They wish to create an open environment offering normal life activities that will help those people who are deprived or jobless and have been in jails for correctional homes. This will explore the possibility of channelizing the unused potential in distressed people in a productive way. Using the ancient art of in-situ rock carving, he transferred the face of the scenic hills situated between Balarampur and Srirampur village, and in process generated employment for nearly 25 tribal youths. Besides, several prisoners all across the jails in West Bengal was contributed to his artwork. Stealing and illegal smuggling of ancient rock with carving is a common practice in India. Once a piece of rock is carved, the Adivashis believe it gets deified. No one dares lay a finger on it then. It is common knowledge in these parts that the stone mafia employs Adivashis and other locals to break boulders illegally. So far, Chittodeh and his team have sculpted over 30 such boulders and made basic sketches on 50 more. The Forest Department and District Administrator are also helping him in his effort. Purulia's Divisional Forest Officer, Ramprasad Badana, is quite excited about this. He said, once the engraving is done, it adds value to the boulder. It helps sensitize locals about wildlife and diversity too. Ultimately, it helps in the conservation of the forest area and make our job easier. Professor Nandodulal Mukherjee, art professor and former principal of Vishwabharati Kala Bhavan, is impressed with Professor Mukherjee says about Chittodeh that he has blended art with social work. Pakipar is generating employment for rural folk and has turned the obscure hill into a hotspot of cultural tourism. He had around 40 students from among the local tribals, most of whom were Santas. Mr. Dey involves prison inmates who would be able to work under the open sky. He wanted to give them back a portion of the sky which they had lost. Many of the boulders that lie at the base of the mountain or on the way to the peak also have local flora and fauna carved on them. Along with the sculptures of birds on the hills, the team is working on 30 boulders in the same area. They'll be carving out some rare extinct local animals such as pangolins, spotted deer, and local birds. In the next project, the team hopes to recreate an underwater ecosystem depicting the lives of coral and fishes. Dr. Dian Nonde, he's a very famous scientist. He said that the Matha Range, the southern extension of the Ajodhya Hills, Purulia district, was constituted by residual hillocks formed of granitic gneiss rocks and granites, which are 1 to 1.5 billion years old. One such conical hill formed of fine-grained granite having about 250-meter vertical face standing across plain land was selected for carving out of fork of flying birds. The smallest bird has a wingspan of 55 feet and the largest one wingspan of 120 feet. The process took about 4.5 years. This artwork shall not only be an important landmark for tourism, but also keep the preservation of the hill in the coming millennia artwork. Chittodeh art therapy changes the life of prisoners. A 55-year-old inmate of Calcutta Alipur Central Correctional Home showed Chittode a bunch of landscapes. In every painting, the sky was missing. When Chittode asked him the reason, the man who has served 15 plus years of life sentence replied, "Sir, I don't have any sky. I have lost it forever." The words about losing one sky forever continued to haunt Sri Chittode. Mr. Surajit Bose is one of the sculptors. He was former railway employee, handed a life for murder. He said that when Pakipahar is ready, people will know I am one of the creators. Since inmates of Alipur Central Correctional Home were given the opportunity to take the chisel and make their marks on the rock. In 2007, Mr. B.D. Sharma, the then Inspector General of Correctional Services in prison of West Bengal, initiated art workshop and cultural therapy in prison across the state. The secret of art therapy lies in colors. With bright colors lifts the mood even in an unbearably depressing atmosphere. An artwork exhibition was mainly made by lifetime convicts, and it was displayed at the Birla Academy of Art and Culture. This painting in prison exhibition helped them earn a living with their talent. The terracotta sculpture named Mother Liberty, which was symbol of freedom, is a female form covered with birds all over. This Mother of Liberty was made jointly by all prisoners. We need to establish an academic institute where scientists, geologists, archaeologists, ecotourism professionals, artists, and artisans do their profound research work. The opposite of Pakipahar, there is an in-situ rock climbing museum mainly for researchers. Chittode's dream is to set up a museum of ancient rock carving. When studying art and science together, it's clear to see the impact of one has on the other. A great deal of creativity is required to make scientific breakthroughs. And art is just and often an expression of scientific knowledge. Visual art has been used to document the natural world for 1,000 years. From cave drawing of animals that helped today's researchers figure out yesterday fauna. One of the most famous examples of the interconnection between art and science is the work of Renaissance master Leonardo da Vinci. At the end, I acknowledge Bethune College Tuesday lecture to give me this platform. My sincere gratitude to our principal madam, Professor Anushila Hajra Bhattacharya, Department of Chemistry of Bethune College, and also Jadavpur University Geological Science Department, and especially my guide, Professor Devashish Ray, Department of Chemistry, Kharagpur IIT. And my sincere acknowledgement to Sri Chittode, who is an in-situ rock carver and social activities. He motivated me to gain some knowledge in this field. These are some references from where I collected this data. আপনাদের সবাইকে আমার আন্তরিক কৃতজ্ঞতা আমার বক্তব্য শোনার জন্য। শেষে আমার প্রিয় কবি সুনীল গাঙ্গুলির কয়েকটি কথা বলতে চাই। অনেকদিন থেকেই আমার একটা পাহাড় কেনার শখ, কিন্তু পাহাড় কি বিক্রি করে তা জানি না। যদি তা দেখা পেতাম, দামের জন্য আটকাতো না। আমার নিজস্ব একটা নদী আছে, সেটা দিয়ে দিতাম পাহাড়টার বদলে। কে না জানে পাহাড়ের যে নদীর দামই বেশি। পাহাড় স্থানু, নদী বহমান। তবু আমি নদীর বদলে পাহাড়টাই কিনতাম, কারণ আমি ঠকতে চাই। নমস্কার।